Hi you guys. So today we're going to be learning about adding, subtracting, and multiplying polynomials. Your essential question for these set of notes is how do you write polynomials in standard form? The first part we're going to be talking about, we're going to be defining our actual terms here. So define our first term is polynomial, the sum or difference of two or more monomials. And the example, let me actually get this for you. So for example, you're going to have 3x to the fourth power plus 5x squared minus 7x plus 1. And this polynomial is made up of four different monomials. And those four different monomials are, this is the 3x to the fourth power, that's 1, 5x squared is the second one, and negative 7x is your third one, and then 1 is your fourth monomial. This polynomial is written in standard form, which means that the degree of its monomial terms decrease from left to right. So as we can see that in standard form, we have the exponent, the highest exponent right there is a 4, and then it goes down to 2, and then there's an invisible 1 right there, and then it goes to 1, which actually has a degree of 0. So these little invisible values right here are actually degrees. This is how we devise what's going to actually happen and count down from here. So it needs to be going from greatest to least. The steps for adding and subtracting are polynomials. We are going to list all the steps out first, and then I'll go over some examples. So your step one, you're going to use distribute negatives. You can do this by either distributing the negative, that you'll see the negative in front of the parentheses. You could do this by distributing. Make sure that that negative sign turns into a positive, or you could just drop the parentheses. Again, I'll be showing you that in a second. Your step two, you're going to combine like terms. And then step three, you're going to rewrite solution in standard form, meaning from the highest exponent going all the way down to the lowest exponent. For example, our example one, you're going to simplify this polynomial completely. See how we have that negative sign? So we are actually going to distribute this negative. So that was a positive. So this is now going to become a negative 2x squared. And this negative also gets multiplied by this one. So a negative times a negative turns into a positive 3. The reason what I meant by either writing, so you can either change that negative that you just distributed to the positive because these are now the opposite signs when we actually switched them. Or you could just drop the parentheses, allowing you to see which terms would be like. A lot of you guys get confused that this is going to be still multiplication or something, and a lot of you forget to keep that addition sign, so you end up multiplying. So make sure that you are only going through and you are just going to now be combining like terms. Do not multiply right here. Okay, so our next part right here, we're going to actually just combine like terms. I see I have an x squared and a negative 2x squared, so I get to combine those, and that leaves me with a negative x squared. And then I have my 6, my positive 6, and my positive 3, so that is going to give me my 9. My last example here for this one, you're just going to be combining like terms again. So obviously we're subtracting and adding polynomials right now. So this already has an addition sign, so we actually get to start from this step right here, that middle step. So we're just going to combine like terms. Again, I have my 7x plus my 4x, which gets me 11x. And then I have my negative 3 plus the 2, so I'm going to have one negative left over. Now our steps for multiplying polynomials. We are going to write out our steps again. So the step one, you're going to use the distributive property to distribute every term to every term. Number two, you're going to combine like terms. Number three, you're going to rewrite your solution in standard form. Our first example, we see that we have a monomial being multiplied by a binomial. So I'm going to distribute this x squared times that 6x. And then I'm also going to distribute that x squared times that negative 8. So I get x squared times 6x is a 6x to the third power. Then the x squared times a negative 8 should be, actually not, sorry, this should actually be an 8 squared and not a 3 squared. So let's make that an 8. We'll just write over it. So we have a negative 8 squared. Hopefully you guys see that. So 6x cubed and then negative 8 squared. Our second example, we're still multiplying that monomial, but this time by a trinomial. There's 3 terms inside the parentheses there. So now I'm going to distribute the 3 to the 5x squared. Then we have a 3 times negative x, and then the 3 times 3. So when I go ahead and distribute those, I should have a 15x squared. 3 times a negative x should be negative 3x, and then 3 times 3 should be a positive 9. Make sure that we're in standard form there. We have our highest degree all the way down to our lowest degree. For our last two examples, we have a binomial times a binomial. So we have 3x plus 2 times 5x minus 3. Notice how there's nothing in between those parentheses right there? That means we are multiplying. So I'm going to multiply that 3x times the 5x. It should be getting us our 15x squared. Then I'm going to go ahead and multiply 3x times a negative 3, which would be a negative 9x. Then I'm going to do 2 times 5x, which is our 10x, and then 2 times negative 3, which is a negative 6. My last step here in our steps is to combine like terms. The only terms I have that are similar that I can combine are the negative 9x plus 10x. So those are the only two values I can combine because I do not have an x squared there, any more x squareds, or any values, numbers by itself. So we should have 15x squared plus x minus 6 as our final answer. Our last example, we have 2x plus 5, a binomial being multiplied by a trinomial. So when I go ahead and multiply this, I'm going to do 2x times x squared. That should get us our 2x to the third power. And then when I multiply, I have to keep going through all of this. This is what I meant by multiplying everything by everything. 2x times 2x is a 4x squared. 2x times negative 1 gets me a negative 2x. So I finally have completed all this number to all three of those. Now I have to go through and do my next values of the 5. So now I'm going to do 5 times 5x squared is 5x squared. 5 times 2x is a 10x, and then 5 times a negative 1 is a negative 5. So I went through and did all of those values. Now my last step is to actually just go ahead and combine like terms, and I see that my like terms, I don't have any more cubes, so that's just going to go drop down here. Then I do have an x squared and another x squared. So I have 4 plus 5x squareds gets me 9x squared. And then I have my 2x's. So now I have a negative 2x plus 10x should get you 8x. And I don't have any more numbers by itself, so that one's just going to go down as well. So my final answer should be my 2x to the third power. We combine those 4x squareds minus 2x. I got 9x squared. And then I have my 4x squared plus 5x squared is 9x. Negative 2x plus 10x was my 8x. And we brought down that negative 5. And that's all for today.